Nope, this has nothing to do with the radio I'm working on. But I'm using up all the leftover spray paint I have, and we had this really ratty radio. I decided not to film this episode because I'm sure a lot of you guys are like, well, yuck, how could you do that? Well, back to this radio. Anyway, what I'm going to do first is go over it with Old English Dark. If you've got some cracks in the finish or you've got some missing finish, sometimes whatever's in Old English will fill it in. I think it's like coal tar and stains and some other stuff. But it works pretty good, but that's just the first step, and I want to let it marinate the whole thing in that, so I'll just get a paper towel and just apply it liberally. Well, it's almost hard to film this because it's so shiny now, but I spent about an hour with my big buffer. Still wasn't easy, but it's easier than using my teeny weeny little one. But you can just about see me. It's hard for me to film this because my screen is so greasy, but here I am. Anyway, that was plastic polish, and I followed up with some car wax. And actually it's getting pretty hot because it's a dark finish, so I'm going to put it back in the garage. And meanwhile, what I also need to do is address something that I saw when it first came in. The volunteer who picked it up, he was like, "Oh man, like the dowel glass cracked on the way over." I was like, "Oh, that's too bad." And then it got here. I was like, first of all, it's plastic, and it doesn't seem to be like really moving. There's no like. And then I looked over here, and like if you look closely, there's like super glue. So someone at some other time caused this to crack, and it's been fixed with glue. But what I want to do is take it off and at least paint behind it with some brown so it doesn't look so obvious. And then I'm going to buff the crap out of this. And I'll just be honest with the person that buys it. It's like, it's not perfect. It's not going to hurt anything because it's plexiglass, but it may look a little bit ugly. But also remember, this is going to be on the edges of the cabinet inside. So once it's in there, it's going to be pretty dark. You might not even see it, but it'll be there for sure. Well, what you want to do is, this was a little bit seized up on there, so I put a little bit of WD-40 around that, and I was able to use my thumb here and just work it back and forth a little bit and pull that up. First thing I look at is the idler pulley here, which is this guy. I don't see any cracks in it. My hands, I don't feel are clean enough. Well, maybe they are. I just want to see. Okay, see that? It's good and flexible. The rubber's still good. That's great. That means I don't have to send that off and I have to wait a week. And this is the top of the bearing that goes for the little cog underneath that makes that mechanism move. And if that doesn't move, then none of it will move. And a lot of times people are tempted to force it. You got to be real careful when you do that, because if you try to force it, there's a rivet underneath, which is essentially that cog here. I need to get a better camera setup. Anyway, what I tend to do these days is I'll just do this. Come on, get the hell out of the can. There you go. It makes this like disgusting looking foam. And I think there's like a catalyst or something in there. I think it like evaporates rust or whatever, but I just go off and do my little thing for a little while. I'll let that sit for like an hour. And the rest, meanwhile, everything else that I've touched is going to be marinating in that, and it'll just start loosening things up. Granted, this will probably not be all of it. You need to use a lot of heat too. But I'm going to go off and do some other stuff because it's a beautiful day outside. Alright, here's the other secret. Secret is getting one of these cheap little butane lighters. Not butane lighters. Why can I not get it to... It's got this like stupid, ridiculous safety trigger on it. Oh, it was already cocked. Anyway, you can get this. And for areas that are stubborn that you know are going to be stuck no matter what you do. Be careful where you're aiming it too. You don't want to like get anything electrical or anything that's going to warp. But this is solid cast aluminum. That's a steel, piece coming through there for the bottom of the little gear. So what I'm going to do is I want to heat the crap out of it. So all that old grease underneath is going to start to liquefy. Like right now it's turning into kind of a tar, like glue material. That's probably pretty hot. So I'm going to hit it with a little PB blaster. Damn it, that was way too much. Let's see if I can wipe some of that up. It's real important not to make a big mess because you don't want to get any of on that rubber stuff. In fact, I'm breaking one of my rules. One of my rules is usually before you do anything, take these off and put it somewhere dry and safe away from oil. Well, I've cleaned everything up and oiled everything underneath. But the electric motor is not spinning. But have no fear, I'm going to work a little bit of oil into it. Well, I got the at least the motor to turn on this thing. I think I'm just going to let this run for a while. I want the motor bearings and the bearings for the platter to get worked in. I think there's a little bit of a low spot on that idler wheel. Sometimes you just let things run for a while. It's a very cool lighting effect, by the way. But anyway, let that run, and I'm going to go use the leaf blower in my yard. Hooray. Welcome to, I guess this is day number 2 working on the latest Grundig stereo. And this has been sitting for a full day. And I'm going to turn it on and see what it does. That's good. It immediately fires up. And the second question is, will the changer mechanism still work after sitting idle overnight? And now granted, that's on 45. It's probably a little, definitely too slow. Okay. Now it's on 33. Nothing's there. Okay, good. So the record player seems to be doing its business. So yesterday, all the cosmetic stuff more or less got done. I did it in reverse this time. This is all glued back down good. And I did my best to clean up and lubricate and whatever the amp and tuner chassis. But the unfun stuff will be today. That's going to be replacing all those capacitors I showed you earlier. These days, for some reason, I just like starting with a clean chassis. It just makes it more pleasant. And so I'm going to switch places and put the record player on the other side and let it just run freely. I want to make sure that motor's good and freed up. And we'll start on the recapping job. Okay, so I'm going to do something I usually don't do very often, which is show some very basic recapping techniques. And the reason that I'm doing this is because I was reminded recently by actually one of our members at the museum. He came over in the morning when we were getting out of our vehicles to go into the museum. And he's like, I watched one of your videos, and I really learned how to do some stuff when you showed me how to replace capacitors and things. And to me, it's amazing that anyone watches these in the first place, so I do such a sloppy job of making them. But secondly, they're fly by the seat of my pants kind of things. So I figured maybe I would just, for the heck of it, show at least how I do it. And I'm not saying you have to do it this way. But what I will do is, most of the time, just see if there's a value on the capacitor. And you can see, like, get this camera. I need to get a better thing to hold my camera, too. That's another thing that I need to do. Well, I will twist it. You can usually twist these around if you can't see, and it'll show you the values. This has puff, or PF, picofarads, 6,800 picofarads, so you have to kind of like back up a little bit. That equals 0.0068 microfarads. And I don't have anything that's like that. Instead, I have a 0047 cap. Is totally fine. They're not that sensitive. But if you were to do it by the book, yes, you would need to put a 6,800 puff or 68 or 0.0068 rated capacitor. I'm not going to do that because I'm not worried about it. But what I'll do, because I know it's very easy for me when I'm looking around in this, to lose my place. It's very tempting to come in here. It's like, oh, I just need to replace all these. I'll just snip them all out of there and I'll put the new ones. It's like, no, don't do that. That's a really stupid idea. I'll just say that I've gotten lost many times. I still get lost today when I'm doing it. But what I'll do is I'll just clip one end of the old capacitor and leave the other end hanging. And here's my, replacements, and you'll see like, whoa, those leads are way too long, obviously. And sorry, I keep on bumping my camera holder with my hat. Well, over the years, I've learned to kind of approximate how much lead, at least on one side. So I'll cut the lead and then I'll make like this little loop. And sometimes I'll also bend it up like that. That way you can kind of like grab hold of this. I leave a little stub of the old connection. I'm going to wet my soldering iron and get my roll of solder. I definitely need to get a better camera holder. It's very easy to knock this thing. I guess it doesn't really matter either. Anyway, so now I've got one end of the old capacitor replaced, and now it's clipped the other end. And then you just reach around. That does the measuring for you for the other side. You want to keep these kind of tight. I clip just a little bit that's sticking out that's long enough for me to come around like this. Let me take the phone off of here. See how you want to kind of make a nice physical connection as well as a, electrical connection or soldering connection. And then we'll come in again with the solder. And just let that sit for a minute, and then it doesn't hurt when you're done to kind of come in and test your job, make sure they're on there good. If you get good enough at it, if you do it long enough, you'll know what it looks like when it's good. But even I do things like if it's super critical and got a lot of voltage on it, yep, not a bad idea to double check. So you just do that over and over again throughout all of these. Like I said, most of the time the values are on them already, so you don't need to worry about looking at a schematic quite yet. And oftentimes I don't use a schematic. I'll recap the whole thing. And if I start having a problem, that's when I need to look at the schematic and go, well, what's supposed to be there and there and there and there, and then you can kind of do sleuthing. Another thing too, and especially if you are a beginner, it's best to replace a few parts at a time and then test your work, as in hook it back up. Make sure it still works, because there's nothing worse than recapping something and being really proud of yourself and then plugging it up and it fails. Here we are, day 3 on working on the Grundig console, and I made pretty good progress yesterday. I got most of these paper caps replaced, but there's still quite a few in here. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's at least 5. I didn't look on top to see if there's anything coming off of nothing coming off of anything. The output transformer is down here. Now that's a curious thing. How could this be stereo with one output transformer? The only thing I can figure is that it must be a multi-section transformer. Yeah, it probably is, because we've got these two, and there's a duplicate of the same setup over here. So it probably is two transformers in one case, or one bell housing. It's not a big deal. By the way, if you work on these and you see something like this, see how it's kind of like silver and it has clear plastic? Those are usually okay. So you can leave those alone. Anyway, I'm going to replace the rest of these, and then it'll be time to see if the thing still works. Well, unless I missed one, which is as always a possibility, it is done. Everything's been recapped and replaced, including the electrolytics down here. You want to make sure that you keep any resistors like this, like a decent distance away from your electrolytics. They don't like heat. That's why I get high temperature rated caps too. I get 105 degree rated caps. What I've also done is I came in and added this audio input. There's already a hole here, so I put a little rubber grommet in it. and your right and left channels go to the record player input, which also shares a connection with the tape player. If there's a separate tape connection, I try to go to the tape player instead. And this one doesn't have it. It's just all tied into one. So I have no choice. So I'm going to go for broke and put it in the cabinet and see what happens. All right, like I said, it's time to go for broke. So get my variac down all the way. Turn it up maybe about 50 volts. Let's see if it's drawing anything. Okay, it's only drawing 12, 15 watts. That means that probably we're good as far as nothing shorting hard. I got a pilot light out here, but it looks like the filaments are going and the pilot's going, so I'm feeling a little more confident. Let's go ahead and bring it up and watch this climb. I suspect it's going to be fine. I'll go ahead and put it up all the way. Close enough. All right.
With cash in your account in as little as 24 hours. To qualify, you must be in business for at least 1 year with monthly revenue of $50,000. Apply at swishradio.com and use code RADIO. Swishradio.com, code RADIO.
And love how fast you do it. Xfinity Internet and mobile. And now through April 21st, get 300 megabit Xfinity Internet and one unlimited mobile line together for $25 a month for 1 year. And save $1,000 in your first year over Verizon and AT&T. Learn more at...
Wasn't me.
When it was like -4 degrees and I forget what you say. I just really don't want to hear it right now. For like 1 second.
I might check that ECC 85 tube out, but I'm going to run some audio through it independently to see if there's any issues with audio. It's actually not sounding too bad. This little tone button makes all the difference. I find that some of the speakers used in Grundigs are a little flabby, especially if you crank up all the bass a little bit, if you crank the bass up all the way. But if you just turn it down a notch, they usually sound okay. Okay, all my speakers are working. Curious about that ECC 85 tube though. That's radio. FM is hard to deal with because I feel like so many of the stations absolutely peak their low end, especially the R&B stations.
If they are successful doing that.
All right, I'm saving you from that. I try to be open-minded, but I'm not sure how I feel about that. Yeah, I think it's fine. Might even be time to start buttoning it up. think that sounds pretty good. Anyway, I'm going to let it sit here and be the garage sound system for the night. Meanwhile, what I had to do is, for whatever reason, this rubber mat, which is rock hard at this point, was kind of bowed in the top here. And I mean the record wasn't sitting flat, so I've glued it back down and I'm holding it with a clamp so it'll dry flat. And then I'll put this back into the stereo. Now the cool thing is, it does have one of these cabinet lights, and it turns on with this clever switch. So you close that, and you open this. There it is, hiding back there. And these bulbs, if they go bad, good luck, because you're going to have to order them from Europe, because it's a different Edison base. It's like slightly, I can't remember if it's slightly larger or smaller than a standard C9 Christmas light socket here in the US, but whatever it is, they don't sell them here. You'd have to order it online. But it's not like you're going to leave that open for days and days. You'll probably have it open like that, because why not? That's very pretty. It's been chugging away for about an hour, and it's pretty clean. No cracklies, no static or anything like that. Don't do this, by the way. Barely warm. It's just cool almost. So it tells me this transformer's being very understressed. Yeah. Let's let this plug away for a few more hours tonight. Welcome to day 4 of working on the Grundig. And I have the this glued down flat so the record won't sit on it weird. Yeah, you want it completely flat. I've been running it for hours on end just to make sure the motor and everything's all happy and that the mechanism still does its thing, which it is. Okay. Anyway, I think it's time to put it back in the cabinet. Houston, we have a problem. I think the problem is that the cartridge is probably bad. I think it's a salt crystal. Also, the needle on one side is totally messed up. Before I rule anything out, I'm going to clean the contacts, and then maybe, I think I have another needle somewhere. I'll replace that, see if that makes any difference. But I think it's dead, which is really disappointing. Alright, what I need to do is clean. Those are all the contacts. And they're a little bit dirty, so I'm just going to clean those up a little bit. But again, I think this thing's not going to work. Bleh. Well, the bottom line is that the cartridge is bad. And I looked online, and they're non-existent. And if the ones that I saw that have sold, they're like $200. And like, I just can't stomach that expense. We are an all-volunteer organization, so, and we're a non-profit, so we can't really go out spending tons of dough on this stuff. But what I think I'm going to do is think about this a little bit. I'm talking with my friend Kyle, and we're probably going to retrofit that with a modern cartridge, a stereo cartridge, and it'll probably work, and it'll be more reliable in the long run. Some of these salt crystal cartridge things still work, and I was hoping this one would work since it's from California and it's dry, but not the case. So I'll have to probably come back to this after I get that part in or when I figure out what I'm going to do. Welcome to day 4 or 5 working on the Grundig. Anyway, I am going to do a transplant, and what I think I'm going to do is use the old mount for the old cartridge to mount this new cartridge. My friend's texting me now. I'm not sure if I got the right cartridge. Let me see. Okay, well, I did the first thing, which is I soldered in this replacement. I just want to see if it actually is going to work. Just rubbing my finger on it because clearly that does work. So that's good. Bring it back over to the bench over here. Well, here's my manufactured monstrosity. It's essentially going to be replacing that salt crystal cartridge with probably an I'm not good with these things. It's either a ceramic or a magnetic. I have no clue. I'm not a record player person, but it's one of those. And I wrote down like what my colors needed to be as far as configuration on this, and I have the screw up here so I can secure underneath here. I feel like this is going too well. Usually when I feel good about myself, it's when things are about to really go bad, like as in there's some unforeseen thing I've done here that's going to mess it all up.
Here we are, helplessly snowbound, too alone, lost in the storm.
All right, so here's what I did. I put the new cartridge in. You can't even tell there's a new one in it. All you see is like a little needle poking out there. The only problem I'm having, and this is like the dumbest problem I've ever had. It's really stupid, but what happens? Let me show you this. I noticed that the rubber mat on this was just a little bit hard, and I thought, well, so what? I just glued it down flat. The problem is that whatever rubber elasticity it had is gone. And so now, the problem is that well, now it's working.
Could bring
Jesus.
eternal freedom.
Let me turn this down, sorry.
Could be a magic thing. But I was through.
Oh, wait. Yes, it needs to be down. Now let's try it. There we go. Seems like it's all right. Maybe it's just because I put the platter back on and I hadn't seated properly, but it seems like it's okay now. Whoops. Wrong way. All right. Hey.
It's your world and your smile turns on my sunshine. You have all the power it takes to keep me blue. You control
A 7-day
Community in Marin for over 50 years. Visit their showroom today. Great to have you.
Birds of a feather, you and me. Make me feel good. Come on to me, In the stairway to heaven,
First.
Well, it's still got some dirty contacts right there.
Major League Baseball.
Sometimes you just have to work them back and forth a bunch.
They're being blended.
This led to the suspension of
Associated with the change.
forest and the small tentacles. There's always exceptions, there's always outliers.
Okay. Let's go to record player. There we go.
Too alone, lost in a storm.
All right, well, that more or less does it. I might have to take that chassis back out if I can't get those contacts to clean up, but you don't need to see that. You've seen enough of me squirting crap. Anyway, here's the innards. I'm going to put the back on once I know that everything is really good. And then I'll wrap it up. Anyway, thanks so much for watching this episode. Hope you learned a thing or two and put up with enough of my crap on these stupid videos. But until the next time something comes across my workbench, I'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.